Greetings, all! Today, we will be examining the uncommon Psychic-type Pokemon Abra, its relatively rare evolution Kadabra, and its final exceptionally rare evolution Alakazam, the three collectively known as the Psi Pokémon. Iconic for their natural powers and more than able to make life hectic for others even at a young age, the members of the Abra family are powerful beasts that can more than scramble the minds of others with their psychic powers.
Abra have semi-jointed bodies with a yellow hide that covers most of their form, save for the jacket of thicker brown hide that covers the upper torso and shoulders, with 3 jointed fingers and feet with 2 toes in the front and 1 in the back. They possess a long, thick tail with a single brown ring near the tip, and a long head with small ears, a small mouth, and eyes that are kept perpetually closed. Their evolved form, Kadabra, have a larger bill with white claws on each of their fingers and toes, a much larger, thicker tail, and a series of 3 wavy pink markings on their lower abdomen. Their black, slanted eyes, star-shaped red forehead marking, and thick yellow mustache, which is larger in males than in females, help to frame their heads nicely, and they always carry around a spoon of some sort to help focus their psychic powers. Their final evolution, Alakazam, have the same basic body form as Kadabra, but look noticeably more emaciated in their form, lacking the markings on the bodies of Kadabra and a tail entirely, with thinner arms and legs, as well as brown patches of hide at their knees and elbows. Their mustache has grown in length and girth towards the end, sexual dimorphism still being present here. Their ears are much longer with barbed protrusions near their cheeks that give their head a star-shaped structure, and they carry 2 spoons with them at all times to further help focus their power. It is further noted that these beasts have access to a mega-evolved form, and in this state, their limbs are even further emaciated, with the legs being locked together into a sitting position at all times as they float in the air, their brown hide being replaced with purple hide that has more flow to it like clothing. They additionally feature a large white beard and mustache, a red oval-shaped gem on their forehead, and a total of 5 psychically generated spoons that float above their head as a symbol of their heightened psychic power.
While the members of the Abra family are noted for their incredible power and their relative rarity as a consequence of the skewed gender ratio of 1 to 4 in favor of males, Abra in particular represent a unique case of inherited power literally being just too much for them to actually handle.
When Abra are first born, they already possess tremendous psychic abilities and are far more powerful than some other psychic types can ever be. Unfortunately, their brains are still quite underdeveloped and are unable to fully cope with their psychic power. In short, their own power drains their energy reserves faster than they can actually be replenished. In order to keep themselves from falling unconscious out of sheer exhaustion, Abras sleep about 18 hours a day. By keeping their minds in a semi-constant REM cycle, Abra can sufficiently suppress their powers until their brains finally grow strong enough to contain their excess power, at which point they finally evolve into Kadabra. Evolution from Abra to Kadabra grants these creatures the capacity to almost fully control their psychic abilities, in turn expanding their combat abilities by a considerable amount, and allowing them to start off the new lifestyle with a fairly potent confusion attack and the disable and bizarre kinesis techniques, the latter most of which only Kadabra and Alakazam can learn. However, despite their enormous powers, Kadabra are unable to fully contain their own abilities and require some assistance to use their powers to their fullest. That help comes in the form of a small silver spoon that Kadabra carry with them at all times. The spoon itself is no different from an ordinary silver spoon, except for the fact that it is infused with high amounts of psychic energy, something that only silver as its precious metal is able to retain. Other precious metals like gold lack this psychic storage capacity. In practice, this makes the spoon the perfect channel for applied psychic energy, a trait that Kadabra use to their utmost advantage. By focusing their psychic energy through this spoon, Kadabra can better control and amplify their psychic powers to impressive levels, making them a vicious force to contend with in any ordinary battle. When exposed to certain energy fields, such as those found in training devices, Kadabra can further undergo rapid and spontaneous growth, and their brain expands so considerably in size that they finally gain full control over their psychic powers, evolving into Alakazam. Unlike most other organisms, the brains of Alakazam continuously grow throughout their lifetime because their brain cells continue to replicate and multiply without end. As such, the average IQ of the species is approximately 5,000, and they have the capacity to literally remember everything they see or do. To say that this gives them a tremendous advantage in battle would be understating things, as Alakazam are able to instantly memorize the motions and attacks of different species and retain that memory for all future opponents from birth to their death, meaning that only first-time opponents have much of a chance against them in battle. In addition, Alakazam are able to accurately predict the movements and tactics of their opponent while in the midst of battle, granting them a significant advantage against opponents that are unable to quickly change their tactics on the fly. All of this is readily demonstrated within their abilities, as these creatures are able to link their mind with others in order to pass on debilitating status conditions and keep their form steady and not easily stirred, granting them access to synchronized and inner focus as possible base abilities, while those that are able to use their intense power to repel hazards and damaging effects not related to direct attacks can also have access to Magic Guard as a hidden ability. As far as the stats are concerned, in the case of Alakazam, while they are quite powerful and readily noted as such, Alakazam are also quite frail, and the physical attributes, defenses, and stamina are quite limited as a whole, so most of the base stats are actually below average for a fully evolved Psychic-type Pokemon. However, where they do make a mark is with their incredible agility and special offensive power, the base special attack and speed stats being above average for a fully evolved Pokemon of their type, and in turn are a dire threat to those that cannot withstand their attacks to knock them out quickly.
While sleeping for extremely long periods of time would be detrimental to the psychological welfare of pretty much any normal creature, Abra are able to hypnotize themselves into truly believing it is the right thing to do, and they have very little trouble staying asleep even when exposed to loud noises.
Even while asleep though, Abra are difficult to find, let alone get near, because of their psychic abilities, which are still completely active during sleep and in turn make it difficult to tell whether or not they are actually awake. While in an REM cycle, Abra can still sense outside movement and activity by using their psychic powers to sense electrical activity in the surrounding airspace. In this manner, Abra can efficiently detect the motions of objects, friends, and opponents with little trouble, even though they are unable to coordinate their muscles to react accordingly, and are also particularly adept at reading the minds of others that get close to them. While the types of psychic powers they exhibit oftentimes depend on the content of their dreams, because Abra have yet to gain full control over their powers, they normally only have one method of both avoiding danger and moving around while asleep: the teleport technique. While it might cost more stamina to use than Abra would like, the ability to use the teleport technique is unparalleled among Pokemon and is effectively without bounds in the species. Even if they have not actually seen an area before, they can still teleport to it randomly, and the deeper the sleep they are in, the farther they can go with this technique. Until Abra evolve, this is effectively the only form of offense and defense they have naturally if they detect someone nearby that has thoughts they might feel threaten their safety in some way, thus requiring a clear mind to safely approach them, but it can still be more than enough to keep them safe from the prying eyes of predators and humans alike until they can finally evolve. Sadly, the use of the move is not foolproof, as while they can actively teleport to the tops of trees to pick and eat berries when they are awake, they cannot always verify the destination they teleport to when asleep, and will panic when they wake up if they find themselves in an unfamiliar area. While the spoons of Kadabra can allow them to utilize their impressive power in their adolescence, these spoons can also be the bane of their existence, as without them, Kadabra are unable to properly focus their psychic powers and the overall combat strength is reduced to about half. This is only further hampered by the fact that these creatures naturally store psychic energy in the star on their forehead in order to help facilitate evolution in time, so they cannot truly go all out with their powers without their spoon. Moreover, these spoons are not easily replaced as Kadabra must expend a large amount of psychic energy to make them from scratch every time they are lost. The reason why Kadabra used silver spoons in the first place is still a mystery, but it is said by some that it became a natural choice because the first Kadabra was created when a young boy experimenting with psychic powers accidentally transformed due to an inability to properly control them. It is more likely though that humans merely imitated Kadabra and making the silver spoon one of the classic tools of the simple psychic.
Despite being in an evolved state, it is still further noted that the Kadabra do still need some sleep, and often do so while levitating in the air, using their springy, soft tail as a pillow.
It is also important to state that a lack of full control over their powers leaves Kadabra with the unfortunate penchant of emitting alpha waves every time they use their powers. It is still unknown why Kadabra are able to produce alpha waves in large volumes in the first place, let alone why the psychic powers are responsible for them, but it is nonetheless a hotbed for research as it represents one of the few clues science has as to how psychic power actually functions. Regardless, the health effects these alpha waves cause are more than noticeable, as anyone even remotely close to a Kadabra when it's using its psychic powers is likely to receive a splitting headache. These alpha waves also seem to have a significant effect on precision machines, and have been known to cause disturbances ranging from static shadows on television screens, which are rumored to be bad luck, to making clocks run backwards. Needless to say, this has made Kadabra one of the least appreciated Pokemon among non-trainers, as they more often than not tend to cause major disasters in homes and towns when training. It is further noted that the amount of alpha waves released effectively doubles whenever Kadabra close their eyes to concentrate their powers or otherwise have headaches, so the amount of damage they can do is quite astronomical in the right situations. Even so, the sheer amount of power that Kadabra possess can make training them more than worthwhile to a trainer, as long as they don't mind having to ditch most electronic devices.
The impressive psychic powers of Alakazam tend to come at a cost to them, as their ever-growing brain creates a significant health risk within them.
Because their brains are continuously growing, the heads of Alakazam grow continuously heavier and harder to hold up over time, eventually to the point where the weak neck muscles can no longer support them. To make up for this detriment, Alakazam stop relying on their body to deal damage and completely focus on animating their bodies with their psychic powers. As a result, Alakazam begin to atrophy shortly after evolution and eventually reduced to little more than skin and bones, making them surprisingly frail and easily damaged by physical attacks, even though they do have a greater capacity to take damage than Kadabra. This can place them in an extremely vulnerable position when stuck fighting a purely physical opponent, but Alakazam thankfully have more than enough speed and special power to fight back against nearly any opponent. Moreover, the strength of their psychic power increases as their brains grow larger, and the overflowing psychic energy has been known to cause headaches in those that stay too close to them for extended periods of time, leaving only trainers with strong minds capable of utilizing their full powers in battle. Despite these issues though, as a consequence of their tremendous intelligence and advanced psychic abilities, Alakazam are virtually masters of every major type of advanced psychic power, including telekinesis, psychokinesis, pyrokinesis, cryokinesis, and even fulgurkinesis. This in turn makes it very difficult for most Pokemon to garner a significant type advantage over them in battle, as Alakazam are able to adapt to just about any type of opponent they come across in battle. Moreover, they are able to focus their natural psychic abilities to nearly insurmountable levels by closing their eyes and shutting off all of their senses, in turn allowing their psychic powers to take full control over their bodies. It has proven difficult to fully gauge just how strong the psychic powers of Alakazam can actually become, but some estimates predict that a single member of the species at its top form may be able to lift an entire 7-story building at least a few feet in the air. It is also noted that, much like Kadabra, Alakazam are able to intensify their powers by using silver spoons infused with psychic power as focusing units. The only difference, aside from using 2 spoons instead of 1 to focus their powers, is that the spoons of Alakazam are not material objects, but are in fact made from pure psychic energy and are uniquely different for every individual Alakazam. This makes it much easier to replace them if lost, in turn ensuring that Alakazam are practically never reduced to less than their full power in battle. Even so, they still have a habit of guarding their spoons closely, as they will only ever give one to someone if they trust them deeply. They don't offer much aside from being a symbolic gift, but it is said that anything that is eaten with them will be incredibly delicious, so there is a minor incentive there to treat these creatures with the respect and dignity they deserve.
It is lastly noted that Alakazam is one of only a select number of Pokemon known to be capable of undergoing the process of Mega Evolution.
With an Alakazite in hand, Mega Evolution enables Alakazam to reach a rare state of psychic unity with the world that is normally only seen in Pokemon like Meditite and Medicham. With this power in the hands of these psychics, they no longer need food to sustain their life, as they have begun to feed off of their own limitless psychic power and in turn are able to devote all of their energy into focusing on their psychic abilities. In this form, Mega Alakazam become masters of their own powers, and the skills they have obtained so far are raised to the highest levels, elevating them to a level of power only the great legendary Pokemon Mewtwo can possibly exceed. In doing so, however, they stop using their muscles entirely, and the already atrophied tissue withers away to the point of being completely unusable. Aside from making them incredibly powerful, this amplification of their psychic power allows Alakazam to release psychic energy outwards from the psychokinetic organ on their forehead to foresee everything in the course of an organism's entire life, from the moment of birth to their death and the future, and in turn see all of an opponent's moves before they even happen. In terms of stats, this psychic revolution slightly increases Mega Alakazam's base special defense stat, moderately increases their base defense stat, considerably increases their base speed stat, and critically increases their base special attack stat. In turn, they gain the highest base special attack stat out of all non-legendary Pokemon, and the highest base speed stat out of all non-legendary Psychic-type Pokemon. Moreover, obtaining this state of ultimate psychic transcendence has the effect of wiping the minds of Mega Alakazam and leaving them with no true biological ability to focus on or harness without outside input, effectively granting them the Trace ability. These creatures might not be able to take a lot of physical damage in this form, but unless the opposition can attack them before they get the first strike, There is no telling just what kind of devastation these beasts can be capable of unleashing.
These strange mammals more than show the immense power that Psychic-type Pokemon can wield, and they are classified with otherwise generic-sounding species title for a reason, as they are often the poster children for psychic power, so to speak. It's adorable to me to see Abra on any day, as though they normally can only get access to teleport in the wild, and makes encountering them a lovely task in patience and luck. Unless you can find a way to keep them from simply zipping out of there, you've only got one shot to capture them, so you better make the most of it. At the very least nowadays, they can be taught other moves via artificial methods, so the immense offensive power they are born with can be properly used with a bit of help. Kadabra and Alakazam are both incredibly powerful fighters that might not last very long if they get hit with physical attacks, but can still use a number of potent attacks naturally that can make just about anyone bend the knee to them, minus dark types. The fact that they're limited to pretty much only learning psychic-type attacks naturally can put them in a bit of a bind without some help, but the capacity to learn a ton of moves of varying elemental types with artificial help makes them stand head and shoulders above a lot of similar creatures, especially with moves like Focus Blast at their potential disposal to counter dark types. I will say that their powers can be a bit much to handle for those that aren't used to wielding them in battle, but as long as you meet them halfway and are willing to let them use both your and their own judgment to decide how to confront an opponent, they can be some of the most intelligent and effective combatants to work with, and more than worth trading around to fully evolve and maximize their overall offensive capabilities.
While they can be a bit of a pain to locate and capture, the members of the Abra family are mighty beasts that can more than put others to shame with the sheer might of their psychic powers. You might have to go out of your way to find a training partner to get them to reach their maximum potential, but it can be more than worth it once you've seen what these beasts are truly capable of in battle.
Just do yourself a favor and make sure to keep a respectful relationship between yourself and these Pokemon. They might not be able to literally take a punch for the most part, but get on their wrong side, and they'll gladly use their powers to manipulate you like a puppet on their own terms, showing just who is actually the smarter and more gifted of the two present.
Thank you for watching this video. It brings me great joy to be able to speak to you all in the world each and every time we meet like this, to explore the many different facets of both the world of Pokemon as we know it, and the world as we live it, through every adventure we have with Pokemon by our side. If you'd like to, please subscribe, ring the bell and all that jazz, to keep yourself updated on content uploads and other materials of the like. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like to know right away when something new is uploaded, and my written works, from which most of this is based on, can be found on DeviantArt. Links to both can be found in the description down below. Remember that the world of Pokemon is a place full of wonder and mystery, and you never know what to expect. So, stay vigilant, keep watch, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Until next time, trainers and friends of all sorts, have a wonderful time.